Yeah, bro. I really like I've watched your, philosophical freedoms too over these last few years, and you've become so articulate in spreading these ideas, especially to
Thank you.
your audience and stuff, so good job.
Yeah,
Like
thank you.
it's a very hard message to speak about freedom without triggering like everybody at the same time, so you're a very good orator of this message. And I mean, it's the most righteous message there is, like peace, love, happiness, and freedom. Like, don't fuck with me, I won't
Hmm.
fuck with you, but I'm here to support you, and I'm here to support your rights. And
Yeah,
I'm happy we're
and
having
also,
these
yeah.
conversations, because as men of our generation, like middle millennial type men, we have gotten pretty fucked in our generation as far as spiritual balance and masculine energy goes.
Hmm.
And, you talk about things like masculine energy, and then now you're a misogynist, but, I feel like a lot gets so lost in translation and when people try to speak their ideas.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, I'm talking to them, and you'll hear something like, they'll say something like, kind of, that people on the coast of California would be like, oh, that's really racist. And I'm like, this person's trying to explain something. Like, if I just call him
Hmm.
racist now and start talking shit
Right.
on him, it's going to create an imbalance. So, I was just in the South in Alabama for the last few weeks, and I had such a culture shock because growing up on the coast of California, we were told so many incorrect things about people from that part of the country. And I go there, and it's like a wild experience. I mean, you live in Florida, so you're pretty close to the South, so you guys like kind of have that culture there too. But it just shows what open communication with people that you think are different than you results in.
Hmm.
And usually it results in love. And that's one of the big sadnesses I have about war, and why I'm so anti-war, is that those two dudes that are shooting each other across the battlefield would probably be really fucking good friends if they weren't
Yeah,
shooting each other.
100%. Well, I mean, I love that example, and I always thought that about like football fans. They get together on Sunday, and the Eagles fan hates the Giants fan. But if you zoom out, they're basically exactly the same. They drink the same beer. They do have the same ritual, the same food. They're in the same stadium. Their ticket is actually the same because it has both teams on the ticket. So they're sitting right next to each other in the same section, but they hate each other. And what's happening in the background is an organization has extracted hundreds of dollars of their money. So they've charged them for this experience. And what I love about our friends, like Amir and our friends that we play on the beach, is I just played basketball tonight, right? So I'm the kind of guy who I'm like, while you're still relatively young and active, I wonder how many of those fans that are sitting there watching football, I bet there's enough kind of young guys that have energy that they would rather be in the park playing their own game of football. And I would argue that they would get more positive benefits from that experience. They would have a community, and it would end up being, the guy, instead of becoming a huge Giants fan, he started to be one of the guys that played football in the park in the community. And instead of the guy becoming a rival fan, for the other team, he went to the same park, and now all of a sudden their life took a different path, and they have a community because, like you're saying, they really are more similar than different. And so it's not saying that the NBA or the NFL or all these things are necessarily bad or evil or any of these things, but we know about the Roman circus, and sort of a whole nother sort of video about that. But basically, if you give people entertainment and breadcrumbs, you know what I mean, then they're just going to ask for more breadcrumbs and more entertainment. And you they they instead of nourishing themselves on an experience like playing football, they simply go for the stimulation of the entertainment, just consuming, watching other people play. Again, I love to watch sports and everything, so I'm just using the example. But what I do is I balance it. I play sports and I watch sports. You know what I mean? Because I'm
There's a
like, okay,
healthy
the whole
balance, and a lot of
experience.
sports fans
You
don't have
know,
that balance in
yeah.
their lives.
Yeah. And it creates that division basically, right? So to bring it back, I mean, that's what you were saying is is where are we creating unnecessary division that doesn't necessarily need to be there? Because if there is any division, it would be, I think there's only two sides. It's the people that truly want your best interests and the people that truly don't want your best interests. And I think if we don't talk about deep state or this wing or that wing or whatever like that, I think if you are going to pick a side, it just comes down to discernment. So it's not saying that this is always bad or this is always good, but it is good to be mature, to be wise when we make decisions, and to use discernment, which means, if if it just rained and you see, let's say, well, let me not use that example, but basically we need to have discernment, like what to food to put in our body, for instance, right? Because that has consequences, right? So it's not to say that one thing is bad or not good, but we do need to have discernment who to share, who to have sexual intercourse with, right? Who to share your sexual energy with, what food to put in your body. I mean, we have to have some level of discernment, but that I don't think that's separation, right? I just think that that's just the nature of the universe. When I talk about separation, I'm saying like truly people that not have your best interests versus organizations and agendas that do have your best interests. That's sort of the divide that I would just beware for people to become aware of. And of course, we want to do what's self-sovereign, what's free, what makes us feel good, what's truly love. And typically that's, people not forcing you to do anything. And it allows you to keep more of your money so that you can buy the clothes and then give your clothes directly to someone, directly help someone. And how does that work? Because people say, well, if there's no tax, then rich people are just going to keep all their money. No, they don't. Studies have shown that the more money people keep, the more charitable that they are. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
imagine, you know what I mean?
Statistically, the level of taxation and the level of charity are almost directly linked. So the lower the
Inversely
taxes
related.
are, the
They're
higher
inversely
your
related.
charity is going to be, and that makes philosophical sense because if I'm paying 55% tax rate, then I'm like, well, what else do I need to give to charity? That's 55% that they're saying they're giving to charity.
Exactly.
In reality, they're spending the majority of it on bombs and
Exactly.
the empire.
Exactly.
But
Well, another way to think about it is bringing it back, right? Bringing it right back to you know, uh, sort of if you're spending the money, you want to spend it directly on what you want to spend it, and you're not falling for this trick that, okay, we actually know how to spend your money better than you do. And of course, you wouldn't. It's sort of like if you had bad service at a restaurant, but they automatically included a 20% gratuity. You know what I mean? How does that make you feel? You know what I mean? That might not kill you, right? But if that happened every day in every interaction of your life, you'd be like, this is grinding on me. It's like this slow grind, right? Versus what if you were free to tip the people a lot that serve you and not tip the people, which is most things, right? Most things you don't have to give a tip. And this works really great, right? This works really great. So really really when it comes to self-sovereignty and everything like that, it's becoming either using barter or having a community, having a node that's sort of decentralized, and being a strong man, being a strong woman, or a loving person, and bring it back to what you were saying about charity. Is the same thing that I said before about it's our responsibility to be a good person. When people say, well, if you don't tax, there won't be any giving or whatever. How do you make sure that people that have money are going to give to the poor?
I mean, my response to that is like, charity does not come from theft and you stole my money. So that's not where charity comes from. That's not
Yeah.
where moral good things
Well,
come from, because
where
I
I
never
was going,
consented.
right,
I can give my
right,
money. I would love to
right,
give my money to charity myself, but it gets
right,
stolen from me to make bombs with.
right.
So,
Well, what I was going to say is,
even that's the thing. Even
yeah,
if the premise that, like, let's say we live in this like hypothetical society where the government actually is using our tax money that they steal from us for only good things, it still doesn't matter, because the premise of where you got that
right,
money is unethical and immoral, because
right,
I never explicitly
right,
consented. And if I do not
right,
explicitly consent to something, then it is
right,
immoral and it is illegitimate.
right, right. Well, that's the bottom line. I mean, like you said, like I think more Americans probably know who Kim Kardashian is than know what Lockheed Martin is, or know what Raytheon is. You know what I mean? And I think that says a lot
And if they
about.
know what they are, they don't know that they make the biggest bombs in the United States.
Right,
They think
right.
they're a
So
tech
for those of
company.
you knowing, basically they make real life Halo suits, like the Halo video game, guns, fighter planes,
Pretty
$1 billion
much a lot
stealth
of that
jets, and
equipment
everything.
the Taliban just got,
Yeah,
those
well,
guys made
basically,
it.
and
So
the thing to keep in mind is whatever they're showing you, the technology that the military has is probably about 15 years old, maybe about 10 years old at that point,
I would say
because
30 to 50, which is
yeah,
what
30,
the
50. I was gonna say that, but basically, I'm just gonna say 10 because I think that it accelerates so much that I think that like we'd all be amazed that in 10 years what's happening, that they're like, okay, we're going to show you the B2 stealth bomber, you know, that we launched 10 years ago. We'll show you that one, but we're not showing you what sort of what we're working on. But where I was going with the charity thing, Amir, is it's the same answer. It's the same solution. The same solution I've been saying the whole video, which is, how do you make sure that the rich people are going to be charitable? It's our responsibility to be a good person, and it's our responsibility to encourage people to share. And of course, what's the best way to encourage anyone to do anything is to be an example, be the change you want to see in the world, that kind of thing. So it's our responsibility to give. We cannot force people to give charity, and that's not even how it works. Like you're saying, people don't, that doesn't even feel good. If everyone's happy, we give charity. Or maybe if we're doing barter economy, we could give charity that way, right? Because if you give me $100 worth of CBD cream, and you tell me about a crypto coin that I should buy, maybe I'll in exchange give you something that's worth $300 because I'm just feeling a little more charitable because I just appreciate you, right? So did that really cost me anything more? Sure, in value, but you know, it's a way to basically gift and be charitable. Is you can give your time. So I think, you know, instead of just thinking about charity as well as funds coming out of your, you know, your bank account, it's your time and how you spend, right? Tutoring people or caring for people or this kind of thing. There's so many ways to be charitable with your time and your energy, and ultimately
and
that's your energy and that's your currency, because your energy is your currency. Where you place your
I
energy
want to
is
add
the
to,
biggest
have
thing.
you heard of the giving pledge? So like part of the argument too about the rich and charity is that they won't give it, but even in the current system where they're already paying the shitload of taxes and regulatory burden that they have to pay for as well, there is
Mm-hmm.
that thing called the giving pledge where these billionaires like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and stuff pledge to give away half of, I believe it's half of their wealth to charity. So already in this system where where the government is taking that much money from these people, they're still pledging half of their wealth. So it goes to show you, what would they be pledging in a world where they got to retain all of their wealth if already they're voluntarily pledging to give away half of their wealth. And this is another cool thing that happens with that giving pledge
Mm-hmm.
organization that they have, is if a billionaire that they're asking doesn't want to do it, they kind of get shamed for it. So
Yeah.
within
Well,
those
there's two ways
circles,
that
they're
they're
already
clever,
trying to get
Amir.
the money out
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'll say there's two ways that that's very clever. The first way is that it becomes a tax shield. So when you say I'm pledging to give away half my money, what happens is you're giving it to as a donation, maybe to a donor advised fund or directly to a 501c3, and that offsets your taxable income. So it's actually in the best interest, rather than paying your taxes and then the money that you have in your account, then giving that to charity. That's called after tax money. So your after tax money is the smallest amount of money that you have. Your
Hey,
gross
and what's
money or
up,
your
Molly
before
G? How
tax
you
money is the
doing?
biggest amount you have. So what you can do is, if I say, so if what I say is, okay, I'm gonna because I'm such a good person, I'm gonna give away $50,000 this year to charity. Okay, well, here's the first way that it's clever. Pay very close attention. The first way that it's clever is that offsets their income tax. right? So instead of them giving money to Uncle Sam, big government, they're giving it to a specific 501c3. Now, here's the second way that it's super clever. That 501c3 that Facebook gave $50 million, or let's just say $500 million, right? That they pledged. That charity, the purpose of that charity is to make sure that every human being in India has access to the internet.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a charity. Well, wait a minute. Oh, so now they all have access to the internet, and then what did they do? They introduced the Facebook phone. What's the Facebook phone? The Facebook phone means you have free internet as long as you're using Facebook. It's kind of like when you're on the airplane and you have free, internet within, the American Airlines, movies and TV shows kind of thing. And maybe we'll give you access to like this website or this, but they restrict if you want to go on any website, you have to pay for that, right? So it's the same thing in every part of the world. You typically, if you pay zero, you don't have any internet access. If you pay a little bit, then you can get access to the whole World Wide Web. But they flipped that, or sort of they introduced a really sneaky way, which is saying, okay, we're doing all these good things for the world. We're going to connect the whole world. Everyone's good. 7 billion people are going to have a Facebook account, and this is going to be good for them. Just like giving Coca-Cola to Africans was good for the Africans, right? And so we're going to now do this, but we're going to do it with Facebook. And how do we do that? Well, we have to put our satellites everywhere so that there's internet connection, and then they get a phone, and so they get a cheap phone, and all it has is Facebook, but that's all they need, because now they're doing everything in Facebook, and really, that's a lot. If you don't have a phone and you're a poor person in India, now you can talk to your friends, you can post photos, you can watch videos. So, they're really clever. So I'll say to you, that's sort of a deeper layer underneath just the fact that, yes, what you're saying was true. People that do have wealth are already, because there are so many people who have wealth, are good people. They are already charitable. And so that I just wanted to, sort of clear sort of that is from a financial standpoint as well.
And we currently live in a world where being charitable is the trendy thing to do. So whether somebody wants to do it or not, we currently live in a culture where it's looked down upon for not giving. And now it's kind of become a competition of sorts of who can give the most, which I think is fucking great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's really what it is people who share their energy with other people. We like that person. What is a cancer cell? A cancer cell is a group of cells that does their own thing, right? They're no longer
they've
interacting.
Mutated cells that don't fall in line.
They're no longer interacting and supporting the rest of the body, right? So imagine a tree that has leaves on it, but this one leaf doesn't want to share some water with the other leaf. That doesn't happen, right? We know that doesn't happen. So if we want to have self-sovereign, self-sustainable, healthy, loving communities, then of course it's trendy and it should be popular, and we should love when we see that people are sharing their energy, sharing their gifts. Of course, we love to see when somebody started a new business, because great, maybe I could be a customer. Like, you just created something like a value, like you're sharing, or maybe you're just sharing a joke, or you're singing a song. It's like, thank you. You're some person on the street singing for everyone. I mean, we like this person because they're sharing. We might say this person is the worst singer I've ever heard, but I think, if they're relatively good, we appreciate it. So if you're sharing something that has positive value,
even if you're trying, good job for being out there.
Even if you're trying, I don't, right, exactly. Versus what don't we like? We don't like the person who's very, I'd say, doesn't offer a lot of value, or they seem to maybe like they're a taker more than a giver, right? The law of the universe: the more you give, the more you receive. So I think it's good to see a lot of people, I think, recognize that. And of course it should be trendy. It should be just like, it was funny. It used to be, apparently, before I was born, that, if you wore your seatbelt, you weren't cool. But then after a couple of years, people were like, wait a minute, it's actually cool to be alive. So now it's going to be, now if you don't put your seatbelt on, now if you're 2020, your kids on TikTok and they got their vape, but it's like seatbelt on, like, this isn't cool, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like it became cool to it's not cool if you don't wear your seatbelt. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, but buckle up, because people are like, they do become smarter after a while, right? They do become smarter.